Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the horror show. I'm Jaime and Fuego here with some special coverage, which is going to be just me solo, because I am the only one that braved the late night screening at the Phoenix Film Festival 2017's branch of the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival. It was a movie that was getting a lot of buzz, so I definitely had to be certain to be there for it. I am going to be discussing today the Transfiguration. Yeah, based on the name, it's really probably not giving you the proper indication of what this is about. It's essentially supremely low budget, but in that good way, taking place in New York City, more so in some of the lower income, I don't know if you would consider them projects or, different, spots around the city, but there is a young boy by the name of Milo who is obsessed with vampires, and that's basically all that you need to know going into this. And so we always cover a little bit of just all out performances and how we enjoyed things overall. We always talk about a little bit of the acting, a little bit of the effects, a little bit of music or score, or if that is something that's necessary. So with being just me, I'm gonna get right to it, guys. My overall impression was this film was fantastic. I really thought of it as a mashing of Let the Right One In, which I prefer the Swedish film to the American remake, Let Me In, which was still not bad, but I just didn't know if the remake was ultimately necessary. But personal opinion, it's a mashing of Let the Right One In with a little bit of Moonlight and with a little bit of the movie Kids from the 90s, which was just almost documentary style in its low budget nature, and especially the fact that it was filmed in the 90s and stuff. This film does feel, with the exception of Milo being on the internet and stuff like that, that it could be timeless. And so his obsession with vampires, if I'm going to go into story stuff, is really going into a new, territory, a new stratosphere. He almost kind of thinks he's a vampire to some degree. He's not, or at least he's not revealed to be, at least early on. You're gonna have to watch this movie to find out for sure. But yeah, he's a young black kid who has no parents. He's living with his older brother, and all of a sudden this younger white girl named Sophie moves in upstairs, and they hit it off, and it's really cute. Their relationship as it blossoms, because they're super young. They're like barely preteen, which is why I'm making the Let the Right One In reference. I'd say at least like 13, 14, something like that. But such strong performances from both Sophie and from Milo, and you really believe in the chemistry that they have together and the friendship and the bond that is forming. She likes dark stuff, but she's more of certain girls that I've met that are like, watch Twilight, it's so great. And then Milo was more like, no, that's not real vampire stuff. He even mentions Let the Right One in this. And so, I mean, yeah, they kind of wear their influences on their sleeves to the slightest degree in this, but he also talks about Near Dark, and so the kid's got good taste. But the problem is that he has taken his vampire fascination to the level where he's out there, and this is early on in the film, so this is just, I think they even implied it in the trailer, so mild spoiler, he thinks he's a vampire. So what would you think a guy who thinks he's a vampire is going to go into Central Park and do? He's going to prey on people, most likely transients or, those who are too faded to know what's going on, just hanging at the park or whatever. And so that's where we basically join the film, and that is, it's a kid that is really struggling with kind of being cognizant of doing the right thing and wanting to do the right thing, and yet he has these really evil urges, and he mentions this as a common theme throughout the movie about how he keeps getting drawn back even though he knows what the right thing to do is, and there's a part of him that wants to do it. It's like the pull of the flesh or his fascination or whatever the hell it may be is what I can see why it got the praise and esteem that it did. It debuted at the Cannes Film Festival, and it has just been spreading like wildfire since then. It's been in limited release as of this point after the Phoenix Film Festival in New York and in LA. I'm not sure if there's a wide distribution for limited theaters or whatever happening soon, but it's a film that really needs to be sought out, specifically as I segue into the performances. Once again, Milo, the kid who plays the lead, wowed me, and he was able to emote so much without really saying as much. He's a quiet kid. He doesn't really have friends, which is why I think that's when weirdness can fester more so when you're antisocial, and this is just personal opinion, but it's like when you're not interacting with other kids who are more of the norm and, you know, have parents raising them well, and the trickle down factor is proper, and, you know, good values are being imparted and whatnot. He's really just like shout out to our co-host Marsha Parker. He's a latchkey kid, except he doesn't have parents. His parental figure is a brother who came back from Vietnam, or excuse me, not Vietnam, our modern Vietnam, as many people like to say, from Iraq. And so he doesn't have that interaction, and he really doesn't have that set of rules being placed down, and he really is able to come and go as he pleases, and he still manages to give a very well-rounded performance at a young age that is captivating, frightening, intriguing, and where still being a kid, I mean, it's not like we go when kids do terrible things and immediately want to execute them if it was a murder, or, you know, lock them away forever for an armed robbery. We basically say they're kids, they're confused, they're maturing, they're getting all of this stuff together, and that, it's fascinating to see the gravitas in this young actor. He does a fantastic job, and the girl who plays Sophie as well. Everybody else is more on the secondary side. It's really the story between the two of them, and, you know, as that connection grows and stuff, there are solid performances, I guess, from some of the gangbangers in the projects who he gets mixed up with, and the older brother does a solid job, even though he's not in it an immense amount. So acting was on par, story was on par, as I said. Effects, there's not really much of any, being a slow burn and very quietly indie horror film, but I like stuff like that. I love The Blackcoat's Daughter. I enjoyed The Witch more than most. I'm not going to say that it wasn't without its problems, but I like these movies that take their time, and this is not full-on horror, just to really remind you guys. It's more on the thriller side. It's more on the multi-encompass dramatic side, and but it's beautifully shot for low budge. I mean, the great cinematography and shots of New York City are beautiful, whether it's stuff where, you know, they go to a carnival, or whether, you know, up on top of a building looking out at the city and stuff like that. It's well shot, and that is credit to writer and director Michael O'Shea, a first-time director and writer, no less. He had done one short film before, but no feature. He apparently submitted this, as the IMDb was saying, just on a whim to Cannes. And lo and behold, they picked it. And now he's going to have a big and fruitful career, in my opinion. He's also a Brooklyn native, which I'm guessing this is where the predominance of this was filmed, but I'm not 100%, having not been to the city since I was a little kid. And all that I remember, though, was going to the Natural History Museum and seeing that big shark jaws of the Megalodon. Stay tuned for the Meg movie. My boy Cecil would be loving that reference, making it down. So yeah, good cinematography, well shot despite being low budget. This is the perfect example, despite not being a Blumhouse movie, of the Blumhouse mentality, or the profitable low-budget horror mentality of no frills, great acting, great storytelling that is compelling and interesting, and they can make so much out of so little. That's what any good indie filmmaking really epitomizes. And I mean, the score is minimalistic. It's nothing that's going to really, you know, turn your head or anything like that, but the sound design was great, especially the few times where our aspiring vampire attacks people and you hear what's going on without really spoiling anything. And this is something that I would really love to spoil, but I don't think with just a single person here it is the proper time and place for it. But yeah, I have to give a supreme shout out to Monty Yazzie, to Jason, to Patrick from Allied. I mean, goodness, they were all the people who were instrumental in allowing us to take a gander, first for, you know, me at Transfiguration, that is the matter at hand here, but all the other films that we got to watch, we got so much tremendous coverage. It was supremely appreciated having the opportunity. It was great. Second straight year getting to do the coverage, and we look forward, hopefully, to many more. So make sure to check out our TeePublic site, where you can get your very own shirts, like the Coexist design, our horror show logo, a Horrific Harry design. There was a fan of the show who just messaged me recently, and she was like, check out this shirt that I got, and it was a Horrific Harry black long sleeve. It looked so badass. So shout out there, shout out to all the fans who have been upping our prowess and just making us want to work even harder for you with all of our horror coverage. So once again, the Transfiguration, for me, Jaime and Fuego's taste in horror was awesome, and I highly recommend it when and if it gets to a theater near you or is available on VOD. Michael O'Shea and these two very young leads did a tremendous job. So I've been Jaime and Fuego. This has been The Horror Show, and until next time, Fright fans, remember, stay scared.